Energizing Minds, the latest episode. We have the whole crew here, Alex, Ruthi, and Dave. We're going to have a little fun with this one, our last episode of 2025. Thank you all for listening to all of the episodes up to this point. We're approaching our fourth year, which is kind of hard to imagine. In another mental lapse, I thought we did a predictions episode last year. We did not. So this year, we're going to be looking at our last predictions episode, which I think is actually kind of better because having that year or two gap from what we did to now has really actually shown more of the trend line instead of just the hype, which is nice. So that's the fun and frolic we'll have today. We're going to talk a little bit about how good or bad our predictions were. And then we're going to make some for 2026. So, Alex, per usual, I'll kick it over to you and you can talk about your ideas.
Yeah, I had a bunch around kind of like two concepts that were definitely going on at. Oh, Ruthie, you got something?
I do. Can you set us up with a context for what you did with ChatGPT to review all of our stuff to get us the information we're about to share? Because I think this is pretty cool.
Yes, I definitely use ChatGPT using our transcripts. So if you guys haven't been to the website, check it out. Dave has posted transcripts from our episodes. There's the YouTube videos if you want to see the video version. There's a video version as well. And of course, the audio version, if you're listening to that, we've got that everywhere as well. Check those out because it's actually kind of fun to go through those. Dave behind the scenes has also used NotebookLM to go through all of them, kind of see how we speak, kind of a little bit critiquing, but also recommendations and how we can work together better. What kind of main topics do we always talk about? Perspectives we bring. And then just recently I used, ChatGPT to take a look at episode 19. So many episodes ago, if you look at the one you're looking at right now, to see what our predictions were and then slice it out by person and see if they're true or not. So I'll hit some of mine really went in kind of two categories, which was one, especially this is very timely for close to 2 years ago, is chatbots explosion. And yeah, that didn't really happen.
Well, they
And then
did
the second
explode,
one,
just not in the way that you meant.
I mean, I was really thinking that basically with all the GPT style tools, people are going to load a bunch of information into them, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of not great chat experiences, but they're going to be just everywhere. And we're seeing a little bit of that. There's definitely like a lot more of them than there were in the past, but they're really not quite out yet. It's much more of people going to ChatGPT to use ChatGPT and then maybe linking off to do a purchase or something like that. They're not going to a website, clicking the chatbot and having some grand old experience with the thing, or hey, everybody's got an API connected to their chatbot. No, they're using still third-party software and stuff. So that might change. I still see it changing, even the B2B world. Everybody's talking about it. So maybe that's changing. But my other one was that advertising overload. Basically, advertising is going to be everywhere. And there's going to be some sort of like rebellion or kind of just pushback against that. And yes, data privacy laws have increased over the last 2 years, even more longer term. If you look at some of the bigger jumps that have happened, it was more like 5 to 10. Um, and ads being everywhere, yeah, that definitely is still playing true. Ad blockers also on the rise. So kinda, but not really. I mean, I was talking about the ones that like now are being LCD screens on gas station cooler doors and stuff like that, which still haven't really seen. So a lot of outdoor media stuff is still print. So I haven't quite got there yet.
I wonder how much that is different depending on which part of the world you're in.
Oh, absolutely. I
For
mean,
sure, the
city
United
by
States,
city.
not so
Yeah.
much. But I suspect if you go to certain cities in China or Japan, you're going to have a
hmm
very different experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I was thinking of actually Japan specifically. But if you're looking like Kyoto versus Tokyo versus a little bit, further out, yeah, you can probably see that whole differentiation all across the board. but it hasn't really seen the pushback against it. I don't know. I rip on recipe sites all the time, and I'm still going to. That hasn't changed for 2 years, and I think I'll continue making fun of them for another
At this
year.
point, it's a bias, right?
It kind of is. It's kind of been said still. Too many ads, and I don't care about your grandma's apple pie recipe. I just want the ingredients. Just give me the stupid ingredients. Anyways,
Yeah,
those were mine. Ruthie, do you want to kick off to the next ones? And
I
then Dave, you
will.
can pull us into yours and then into our new ones.
And I
yeah.
should caveat with this. I did apparently a lot more speaking in episode 19 and just
Hmm.
pontificating about what I thought the future was going to look like. So I have a couple more than Alex,
You were
but I'll
pretty
try and
Nice.
prolific.
keep
Yeah.
them brief. So the first one, which is my favorite, because I definitely have a bias in the area, which is ebooks are out and GPTs are the new thing, with the idea that content creators and brands would have their own custom GPT that you could interact with. This was probably coming off of Tyler Cowen did a book where you could both read the book, but you could also interact with the GPT. So I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. That's probably the future of ebooks. That's probably what it is. ChatGPT was very kind in saying this was partly right, but overstated, in that GPTs have exploded, but ebooks are still a thing. I think it was being kind. I think that this prediction of mine is just nonsense. Like, I don't think at this point people are interacting with specific creators, GPTs. They are
Hmm.
instead, or at least this is my little bubble. I'm so curious to hear, Alex, Dave, what you've seen. Like, I'll use prompts from content creators that I care about or that or influencers or whatever you want to call it. I'll try their prompts, I'll hear what they have to say about it, but I'm not interfacing with something they've created on a day to day.
So yeah, I think there's a love-hate thing with ebooks, right? But if you look at the publishing industry, they have managed to survive Amazon. They've managed to survive like almost everything from the 1400s on, right? So, um, I think ebooks will be around for a very long time. I think the regular publishing industry, while changing, will be around for a very long time. The one thing that I will say I did find interesting was Ray Dalio did like a fourth book in his series on sort of everything he knows on financial markets and global finance and you know all these things. And with the release of his fourth book, not only did he add everything to his website where you get all the additional charts and facts and you get the book, you get access to his site, you get access to all the PDFs and downloads. But then with the last one, he also put all of those things as a knowledge base into an AI so that you could leverage it for your own questions about the book or his perspectives around what he's written in the last four books. So I thought that was an interesting use case where his goal really is to try to disseminate as much sort of financial literacy as possible. And it's not how to balance your budget at home, but really like this is how money works. And these are the systems and behaviors that have been happening over a millennia and not just right now. So I would agree, I think, with the grade that ChatGPT gave you, where like I know you wanted ebooks to die, but I don't think they will. But if Ray Dalio's playing with your idea, that's a pretty good hat tip. So
I was going to say, in the last probably 3 months, I could probably name 5 or 6 influencers who have made AI versions of themselves available on their websites, where you can interact with them based upon all the things that they've said, um, and their information, that kind of thing. It's, I think, more of a play around kind of tool right now.
mm,
Um, but it's a crazy concept. I mean, you could definitely see where that could continue, especially with, I mean, people have made those prompts in the past too of act like you're Socrates and let's have a discussion.
Right.
that sort of thing with, someone who's passed. But current authors doing that would be kind of fascinating, especially those who are much more on the lecturer, even podcast side, who have new thinking and new thoughts kind of being added to them all the time.
Here's my use case for that. Even though I don't see it taking on, I don't know if it's going to get traction. We'll see. Maybe it needs to shift into a slightly different form. I'm not sure. I will use at work different writers, or different podcasters like Tim Harford, Adam Grant, like different, to give you two examples. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll say like, if I'm putting together interview questions or I'm trying to think through like an end of year evaluation, I'll say, okay, now give me a series of questions as if you were Adam Grant. And it
Yeah,
changes the whole tone in a really cool way. And I found it very helpful for my ability to think and sort of figure stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the problem is that it might not be as accurate to Adam Grant as maybe like an Adam Grant GPT would be, where I would ask Adam Grant's GPT questions all the time. I'm like, tell me about this. What do
sure.
you think about this? Right? Because there's only so much time I have to listen to all of his podcasts, or read his books. Like he's just a prolific content creator. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how niche it is.
I was trying to remember that term of being like friends with an influencer. Oh, what's that phrase? It's where you
Trying to
feel
think.
like you're friends with someone who you've never met. It's a one-sided
Oh,
relationship.
Yeah.
And I wonder,
parasitic. Was it
parasocial?
parasocial? Yeah.
Yeah. Where you feel like you know this podcaster, influencer or something, but really you've never had a real conversation with them in life.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's really going to just keep on expanding where people have these, ongoing all day long conversations with their favorite influencer, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're a whole different little world than what the person has actually ever said. I mean, if you ask
It's
Adam
super
Grant's,
weird, super quickly, right? Because it's
I
not a real
know.
person, and
I
you're
mean,
probably just getting the positive, polished side, not the
or you're
I'm
asking them
grumpy, I
topics.
didn't eat.
Yeah, you're asking them topics that they've never, expressed an opinion on, and now it's just coming up with something, and who knows where that rabbit hole goes. I mean, it also, like, the very beginning of it, it was like, huh, I wonder if an, incognito version of ChatGPT could say in the form of myself, based upon all the transcripts that we have out here. How would
Mm-hmm.
I answer this? That's weird. But it's also like, am I famous enough for Wikipedia? That's kind of like the new version of that. Like, am I famous enough that ChatGPT knows enough about me that I can have a conversation with the GPT version of myself? Ugh.
Actually, I would love that. It would be more like it wouldn't quite be like the Monday GPT, but
Yeah,
I
just
think it would
knows.
be fairly close. It would just be so obnoxiously practical that
But Alex, you suck at routines. Shut up, Alex. Don't give me that advice.
it was funny, Ruthie. You talked about changing the uh, speech like slightly by doing Adam Grant. Like I found myself leveraging an AI at work this week, and I was kind of off put um by the messaging, and I couldn't really put my finger on why. And so I just put more East Coast, less California, and submit that. And then I'm like, oh, there it is. That's how I wanted it. It was immediately more direct, less
Yeah,
flowery.
yeah.
It was just like it was way more palatable to my brain. Um, which is kind of funny where it's like you could have a super optimistic Eeyore all of a sudden, based on the inputs, which would just be weird. Bringing it back to the ebooks piece, though, I do wonder if that's not something that the publishers are considering, as kind of an add-on where it's like, hey, we have this house of creators, that are sort of within our publishing. Here's some training data based on your favorite, whatever. Um,
Tom Clancy, bud.
Man,
Tom Clancy.
you would have to pay the creators a lot, I think, for that kind of access, because you know who's responsible for the output,
Yeah, I'm
right?
thinking estates of past writers who are popular. I mean, if you look at most like Tom Clancy books, there's a ton of movies and TV shows out from that particular author as well.
Right.
It's ghostwritten already. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not involved. Not actually sure if currently creating anything or not, but that you could totally see them using this as an expansion tool, saying like, you need 10 more books just like him.
Right. Well, there's like 18 Jason Bourne books. Robert Ludlum only wrote 4 of them.
Yeah.
You know,
All right, Dave, you said you're setting a timer, so I'm going to move us on.
thank you.
And I'm going to rapid fire a couple of these. I'm not even going to do all of them. So one of them, dot-com style explosion of GPTs. So like I think I said, hey, you're going to be able to create your own GPT. We're already seeing this. Everybody's going to create their own GPT, and then we're going to have just this glut, and we're going to have a huge problem with being able to filter them.
Right.
ChatGPT said I was accurate. I'll
Yeah.
leave
I
that.
think we're
Moving
there.
on. At some point in 2024, I don't have to read email because AI does it for me. That was a quote. Um,
I do appreciate your optimism generally.
the response from ChatGPT, which I think is true, is technically enabled, uneven in reality. And what I find happens is I do use Copilot to summarize my emails just so I can just roughly stay on top of what's going on. But I, of course, have to go into my email to click the accept button on all of the events. So that has not come to pass, which is a surprisingly large part of how I interact with Outlook these days, is just
Hmm.
hitting the accept button on things. And I still am not at the point where I fully trust the summaries. And so I'll do a quick visual over anyways, because I want to make sure like nothing was missed or nothing was sort of caught under the rug.
Right.
And then last but not least, the Enterprising Minds GPT bot will be available. And I said, Enterprising GPT bot is a not if, but a when. And guys, I feel like we haven't gotten there.
We're good.
We could easily. I have. I'm going to give you a partial grade on this one because for our own internal purposes, we have a lot of GPTs.
Yeah.
Um, we even tried stitching together them into the kind of agentic flows this year. That didn't really work. With the state of the tech when we tried it. Um, if people are willing to reach out and tell us that that's important to you, I'm happy to go down that path. But I think at this point, we'll keep them in house
And
until
that's a
I
huge
hear
credit to you,
otherwise.
Dave. Like you've done a ton to say, how can I improve the process of producing
Right.
podcasts? Like, what does that look like? How do I get the transcripts out? Like the volume that you've created and the ability to like keep on track is 100% on you for sure.
Thanks.
I'm gonna pass the mic over to you though, because you've got a few predictions from our 19th episode.
Yeah, I think so. One of mine is a good follow up to yours. Totally unplanned. So look at how good we are. um, Mine was everyone can ship a bot, but most won't sustain one.
Hmm.
And I think that is largely true. I'm going to give myself a high grade on that one. Because honestly, like with what I'm experiencing with a lot of coworkers and a lot of peers is that their awareness of AI is there. They know they should be using it. They don't know what their entry ramp is, or it's so tactical that they're missing like 80% of the value they could be getting with their job, right? Um, so yeah, while a lot of people can create one, um, it's really hard, even if you're in a larger organization. I know I've experienced this. I'm currently fighting this one right now. Is getting, you can pilot it, you can create it, you can show the validity of something that you've done, but then to make that stick within the organization as a useful thing is so hard. and you have to ask yourself, is it worth the fight? you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that part of like human nature hasn't changed like at all. Um, so I thought another one of mine was the thin GPT wrapper startups will die. Um, that I'm gonna say C plus B minus on that one. What a lot of things that died were the AI hardware things, right? Like the AI lapel pin that was, recording everything and violating privacy. The yeah, I mean that kind of stuff was just you look at it and you're like, that's weird. Why would I do that? Like it seems so Silicon Valley, where it's like if you're out of the valley, it doesn't make sense, but if you're in it, that makes total sense, right? Um, but I do think we're going to start seeing some things like recently, SEMrush being acquired by Adobe. I think getting a lot of these sort of Web 2 um, startups into the models of the larger incumbents, I think is going to be a thing that we see, um, which is kind of related to this. Um, my final one, which will go into my predictions for 2026. Um, so back when I said Apple and Google will launch integrated LLMs. So I did not expect Apple to drop the ball as much as they have um, on Apple Intelligence. Siri continues to suck. Yeah, it just started. And um, and Gemini is continually improving. I'm actually with the latest release of Gemini 3. I'm really surprised at how much more I'm using Gemini than ChatGPT now. It is that much better. Um, so you know, so. I mean that one was kind of a gimme, a gimme one. So my predictions for 2026, and this will be fun because then we'll mark our calendars for next year. Next December, we'll take a look at this and see how wrong we were again. But I think Apple and Google will largely win um, the AI battle, sheerly mostly because of their hardware distribution. I think that's going to play more of a role in building out the ecosystems, right? Especially with how um um especially with how Google's integrating Gemini into everything else, right? That distribution and the fact that they are profitable and not begging for money in order to build their infrastructure is going to be a massive boost for them. The reason I'm not including like Amazon or Microsoft is that they're playing in enterprises, and enterprises are so slow to adopt. Whereas Apple and Google can add it into things that people don't even know are AI. It's just a useful thing, right?
That
Thoughts
I
on
think
that?
is going to be one of the biggest things we're going to have to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it before about the infrastructure part. Like the internet in reality is a bunch of hardware.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of hard drives and it's a bunch of wires. Like that really is the internet in a key piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with any search engine is having an index, a copy of all of
Right.
the world's information web pages. That's an insane amount of data. And honestly, the drives fail all the time. You have to replace them. The electricity cost, heat cost, location and latency
Right.
issues. There's a whole bunch of problems that Google has figured out and Microsoft has struggled with. They have never
Right.
really gotten up to full JavaScript abilities. Interactive text and video is just massive data files, and they struggle with them. Current LLMs struggle with looking at videos. Like it's
Yep.
just there's a lot of barriers, very physical moats and barriers to entry there. And I think the partnership between Microsoft slash Bing And OpenAI would be the top one that I would watch
Mhm.
of
Hmm.
do they rely on that partnership? Do they get closer? Do they buy Bing from Microsoft or something? Like how how big of a deal is that basically ChatGPT finally can basically compete against Google's search plus Gemini, exactly what you're saying. That ability there is a huge moat that they have to figure out. And Anthropic and others, maybe they spiral off into other little niche areas, like you mentioned, like Microsoft just going enterprise,
Hmm.
or Claude goes more government slash schools or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one, Dave.
Hmm. And I also think too, like, if you look at that relationship between OpenAI and Microsoft, if OpenAI goes kablam, I would, I don't know the contract, obviously they don't make that public, but ultimately, like, what do you think would actually happen? It just goes into Microsoft and now they have all that IP.
Yeah,
So,
my concern is they won't activate on it because, like, if there
right.
were two more software friendly companies, let's say it was Salesforce or HubSpot, I would say
Mhm.
they'll probably buy each other and combine. But since it's Microsoft, the behemoth that moves at the speed of a behemoth,
Right.
very slow, very fractured, slow to react to market, like that one, I don't think he'll, even if, yeah, OpenAI goes bust and they buy it, they're still not going to be able to make use of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a
Anyway, I
loss.
think that one will be a fun one to
Yeah.
watch. Another fun thing, in a very nerdy way, um, I think we'll see our first legal trials around disclosures to AI as anti-competitive. So, depending on how you want to debate it, right? In all of our employment contracts, it says don't leak info to the enemy,
Mm.
right? Like
Hmm.
competition. It's not that much of a stretch, and I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I know a bunch of them. um, for leveraging a lot of the old frameworks on the new realities, I think disclosures from um, inside an organization to an LLM will be treated, if it's not authorized as a vendor, will be treated as anti-competitive behavior. So I think
Or
it'll be
fireable
interesting to
offense.
see if there are some trials around that, who gets to be the
Yeah.
first for those things.
Mhm.
There's some
And
surveys just came out saying that over 50% of users who use AI frequently, which is the majority of corporate workers now at this point,
right.
over 50% of them have used company data in the LLM.
Oh
So
my god,
that's rampant. Like not even just like a little bit. Like that's
that's a lot.
pretty rampant.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
mess. I mean, yeah, we have talked about that a little bit too, of like AI gets better the more context you give it. However,
Hmm.
AI gets more of a security risk the more data you give it. And it's the fight of IT versus marketing, which we always come against, some similar security issues of vendors and stuff like that. Um, on a company-wide scale, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, those
Hmm.
company policies, that's going to be an interesting one. And you'll see that before the disclosure lawsuits, but what company enterprise standard contract, or internal policies become, everybody will finally get up and put one together, probably. That would be a
Mhm.
good one.
If they don't have them now, my god, like, why are you
I
waiting?
don't.
And hot take on this one, I think Microsoft might be one of the winners of any of those sorts of lawsuits in that Copilot is for enterprise, and they've done
Yeah,
a
it's already
ton of
built
the
in.
hard work to make sure that businesses can set up sort of secure internal ecosystems and also have access to LLMs.
Right.
And for the small business side, Google Workspace. Gemini
Mhm.
just released that workflows that connect to
Yep.
everything, Gmail and Sheets and everything together using Gemini.
Hmm. Hmm.
Walled gardens.
Which
Love
is,
those.
thank you for saying that, Alex, because that was the transition into my last one. So Um, so this is related to a presentation I did recently around AIO, GEO, SEO, and the AIOUs of digital marketing now, right? Um,
Sometimes why?
Sometimes why, definitely sometimes why. Um, Findability and discoverability are going to be the main buzzwords, right? What's old is new again with PR activities and being in person and having a central narrative and just pounding the pavement with that narrative, so that you can build the reputation, build that trust, build that authority. Really, honestly, leveraging the EEAT guidelines not just as SEO things, but as content pillars for your social media, for your um, go to market strategy with your marketing. Um, that ultimately, in my mind, sunsets the open web of Web 2.0, and the maturing of the walled gardens and the zero click marketing and um, going, out of performance marketing into or back into brand marketing, where we don't necessarily know what 50% of our marketing budget works. The famous quote from the old P&G CMO. Um, but yeah, that one I'm the most interested in watching, because I know a lot of people who have come up in the Web 2 world where, oh my God, I don't have to take any kind of risks. I don't have to stick my neck out because I can just say, we have the data to support this decision. And then you look really smart and, you know, you can go about your merry way without ever having to um, take any risks. And I think that's going to have to go away, and you're going to have to figure out what you're willing to risk some of your reputation on with your decision making, which for me is exciting. It adds a little fun to the day. What do you guys take? What's your hot take on that one?
I had a softball in my list, which is everyone will realize content is still king and SEO is still important for AI because
Mm-hmm.
AI is sitting on that basic foundation. But
Yep.
the way that LLMs interact with web content is different. And so there will be a whole host of new fancy ways in which we can all optimize our content and we can sell our services to optimize our content for AEO and AIO and EIEIO.
Mm-hmm. Bingo was his name.
Nope, I went a different direction.
All right.
Um,
Are you bringing in the Eeyore energy? Is that what your plan is?
Oh, Bet's place. Let's go.
no, it's a little combo, a little bit off to the side. So call it Mambo number six. Basically, this is a fun episode. Websites, I think, will continue to decline in upper funnel traffic, which is the majority of traffic. So as those click-through rates decline, and as you're right, the data and discoverability kind of piece there, which is can show that SEO did X, and I can show that referral traffic did Y. As that data declines, literally the visits and leads and everything else from that declines, that means having every B2B have their own blog, because my gosh, we all need to have a blog,
Right.
will also decline because there's
Mm-hmm.
no point in posting a Wikipedia style article of this is the generic thing about my industry. Thanks for all the high schoolers out there, and anybody who's an industry professional already knows this kind of stuff. Those kind of blog posts will be gone. So as you start to cut down that website, now you're cutting them down and down and down. They're losing their content, and they're kind of losing their content edge because you're using these AI tools so heavily. You're not using the website content anymore. So then what's the point of a lot of content marketing? It declines. Same thing with paid search, to be honest, as well as organic search. So what do you get down to? You get back down to, I would say, almost like the days of yellow pages and online directories, because you're getting down to just the product, just the solution, and just the differentiation, and then trying to tack on your added brand benefit on top of that. If you strip away all the rest of the extra content that's out there, there's not a whole lot left. So that means your website now is much more stripped down, and honestly, a lot of the B2B sites out there are perfectly suited for that. The thing that they're usually missing is the solution aspect. They have the product piece, they have the brand about us piece, but they don't really have this is the solution where our products provide, how to
Mhm.
actually use this in the real world. It's we manufacture X. Hope you know how to use it.
Well, don't you think this has always been the friction? At least, I
Yeah,
mean, with all of our stuff that we've talked about with
yeah.
B2B is largely like, you should go do SEO, do all these mass communications. And they're like, why? I have
I
six
build stuff.
clients. Like,
Yeah.
my product goes to six companies. I don't need to talk to
Well,
everybody. I know Bill, George, John, and Jenny. Like,
mm-hmm. Call them every year, go to their Christmas parties.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah. No, I think that's the friction that has existed that I think will finally become rather pointless. There will be, still think the directories, I'm not going to lose that part. There will be other ways, kind of like the Google shopping method of things where you have to submit your file, you have to submit your data. There will be other ways to optimize. And then those will be more easily to ingest for AI tools that will actually be pulling from those versus actually looking at your site. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Ruthie.
Oh, I'm so excited to see how this plays out. Because you're telling me all of this, and I'm going, but this just reinforces my whole idea and this whole point. You're like, and you need the solution data. And therein lies why I think content is still king. You're missing the whole
Yeah,
funnel, the top of the funnel.
yeah.
100% agree with you there. Like that, you're not getting the sort of top level stuff. People aren't going to your website to find
Where's
out
it
what the
gone?
thing is, right? They're asking GPT and they're getting dropped in at the end.
Right.
But in order for the Gemini, for ChatGPT, for Claude, etc., to know where to send people, and ultimately
Mhm.
they're trying to get somebody to take action. And a lot of the actions are on the website. They need a ton of information about what different companies do, whether or not they provide a very specific, tailored solution to what the person is asking about, right? So,
Mhm.
I had a recent discussion with Gemini and ChatGPT, where I was trying to better understand a diagnosis I had and like, is this a thing? Do I need a second opinion? Who should I go towards, et cetera, et cetera. ChatGPT was like, here, let me give you a summary. And Gemini was like, here, let me give you local results and let me tell you which of those local results meet the exact need that you have based on what you told me and based on their website. And so now the impetus is for all those local websites to put as much detail about here's the specific service and solutions we provide so
Mhm.
that the Geminis of the world make sure that the customers find them. Like there's maybe I think
Yeah.
the contrary to what I just said is your comment about the shopping results, which is maybe it goes back to this idea of you just upload an Excel spreadsheet of here's the things that I provide, tell it directly to Google Gemini. Gemini can then tell people. But I don't know, that seems a stretch. Like websites are such a part of our infrastructure. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's a
Go
really good point. So I've seen, sorry, Dave, you're right on the cusp of something. Go for
Yeah,
it.
no, I was gonna say, and what Ruthie says goes back to my initial point, which is if you look at PR, it's
Yeah,
about the volume of the message being said over and over and over again on multiple platforms, right? It's not enough just to go onto MSNBC and say your phrase. You also have to hit Fox. You also have to hit BBC. You
sure.
have to hit Al Jazeera. And then all of a
Right,
sudden it's like, wow, look at that. That's an authoritative position.
right.
So, and we know that the LLMs right now are looking at volume of phrases, not
Yeah.
necessarily, how accurate or authoritative it is. So, by leveraging the platforms your audience is in and by getting those things out on multiple platforms, there's still a need for content. If you draw somebody into your content ecosystem, then they're able to play around with you because they know, like, and trust you. Right.
This is a really good topic. I've literally been pitting Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT against each other the last couple of days, trying
Mm-hmm.
to come up with a new answer for basically what is the new version of content marketing, because obviously with click-through rates, what like SEO and paid search alone ain't
Mm-hmm.
enough.
Yes.
So this is really interesting because I have also seen AI use very, very, very basic spec sheets almost
Hmm.
of products and suggest them as solutions. So the website did not provide the data and the information. It was available enough on random forums, training data, et cetera, that's out there to line up that this particular company was the right one, the highest quality one, et cetera. And this particular random object was the solution to the problem.
Hmm.
So how much of that do you provide? And maybe that's the competitive edge. Oof, that's a disparate market.
Hmm.
Part two. I think we're gonna have to bring this one back up. But Alex, do you want to give us your predictions?
Oh, yeah. Um, got a list of them. One of the first ones, AI is going to start producing short video as a prompt reply to explain visual topics. It might be more of a 2027 thing, but I really hope it gets there.
That's
Have
cool.
you played around with NotebookLM recently?
They have it?
I put in, so I was creating a presentation for my day job, and it was a qualitative review of, a whole bunch of influencers and tool sites, their blogs on, AI and state of AI and all of that, right? And so, Ruthie, to your ebook prediction, as an optional extra, I put at the end of my presentation, here's a notebook LM, go play with the sources and ask your own questions of it so that you can learn more about the topic and whatever. But Notebook LM has a feature now where it will create a video slide deck of the sources that you put in there, and it will basically create the presentation for you and have the AI voice and everything in there. You can also do a short overview audio podcast, or you can change the length to like an in-depth, hour long podcast on whatever you put in. Notebook LM is seriously good. If you've been
That's
sleeping on it, like go do it. Go do it.
yeah. That was my second prediction, and apparently it's already already a thing in Gemini, so I am late. Which is AI image generation and PowerPoint slide creation will become easy and reliable because it sucks right now with most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Still a valid prediction, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know
yeah,
that Copilot does this so well, super, right?
no,
So it's that for enterprise where people actually want the PowerPoint slides.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Ethan
Um,
Mollick had a post on this where he took a bunch of his research papers and had it
yeah.
create slides. Um, and yeah, it was interesting to read through that as a use case. I think, yeah.
Number three, we will start feeling optimization overload. I think with all the advice given from ChatGPT and availability of all that information, it's a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a phrase for it of some sort.
What does optimization overload feel like? What?
Like what would be a good workout plan? Well, here's exactly personalized for you the exact workout plan, but also here's your sleep routine, and also here's how you should make your meal tonight, and here's based on the seven things that you have inside your fridge, here's the meal that you can make in 20 minutes and whatever else. It's like constant solutioning,
Mm-hmm.
which adds so much extra complexity. And to review all that information, discern through all of it, instead of being like, I don't know what I'm going to make. I guess I'm going to do something really basic. Or you go through this gigantic process every single time and you start to like just be like, this
Yeah.
is too much.
It's like a bad um medication commercial where side effects might include depression, anxiety, isolation.
Don't need those things. Next one, number four, AI and everything will start a feeling of rebellion from those who feel left out of the benefits. So I think we're gonna have an anti-AI spike. I'm already starting to feel the beginnings of that in a work situation of individuals who feel like they've fallen behind the curve. And that's just because there's so much news and so many changes happening so rapidly, they feel like they're behind already. And
Right.
they're starting to, it's right now the humble ignorance of, I feel out of date. I feel I should get, I'm going to try to set aside some time. The next feeling after that is anger of I'm so far out of date. I don't know what I can do about it. It's frustration. And we start
Right.
to get that. And then we're going to get all the way to AI has taken jobs out of my industry, or at least says so in the news, and I'm angry at it in general. I think we're going to start seeing that more and more. I mean, we had more layoffs in the United States. 1.1 million people got laid off this year than we have in like quite a few years. So there's
What's
a
the worst
lot,
since 2008, isn't it? 2009, something like that.
something like that. It's been a long time, and it's not helpful. So no, that runs to number five. Basically, layoffs continue as the rise of AI job search and auto-apply agents become a standard part of LinkedIn because the loyalty from company to employee is going to drop. So the
Hmm.
loyalty to the company will drop. So people will be more apt to use AI tools to job search more frequently than ever before. Number six, more AI generated work from coworkers. So claiming that they're replying too fast, or questioning if remote employees and then eventually in-office employees are working multiple jobs at once.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's going to be some distrust of coworkers starting to come up because you're going to be wondering, am I just talking to an AI system or am I through you and you're just becoming the bottleneck in this? Or is this coworker actually adding anything or anything of value? And then, once we start seeing a lot of AI workflows and agents and stuff like that, then the replies will get very quick. The slides will look very polished. It'll start to be a question of what that person is actually influencing and doing. I think it'll be almost 100% done unfairly, though.
Hmm.
It'll be posed against people who are doing work. Maybe they are using tools or whatever, but people will deride them no matter what. Sorry, that's all pessimistic, but I don't know.
Well, but it's related to your other one,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Like
loyalty and everything's going to drop. So what are you going to do? What reaction to
it's
that?
economics 101. What are the incentives?
Yeah, and then if your job's not secure, work two jobs if you
Right.
can. And then what kind of tools and agents do you need to do that?
Right. I remember
Um,
talking to a German friend of ours, uh, and he once asked, what's it like working in the U.S. economy? I said, when you're on an airplane and they give you the safety presentation, put on your mask first, then you help others. And I hate that, but that's largely the feeling, you know. And AI is only going to make that worse, unfortunately.
This
But
is
use the
a
airplane
really good
announce.
line to think
Yeah.
about, and I think your comments about but distrust and how it's going to change, or how it already is and will continue to change our interpersonal relations in the office and outside the office is huge, right? Because as it extends into not just in the office, but like if I know I've got, a friend or a family member who uses AI all the time, is that text you? Is that, and that's hard. How do you, right? So the value of in person goes up phenomenally,
mhm.
which wasn't on my list, but I'm gonna put that in there. I don't know how to quantify it. Maybe I'll figure out a way of articulating the prediction, but
I actually
in
have it in my notes, but I didn't say it. You can see the second paragraph. First line is in-person events hit different.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I know that's been a takeaway from my 2025 is I put a priority on networking and mentoring and in-person events, and it took almost all year to start seeing the impacts of that. But man, I'm totally bullish on that. Um, I even have some informational interviews with people coming up just because I'm like, let me learn more about what you're doing and how you're
Mm,
doing it. And,
yeah.
um, that
Good.
is, if anybody's worried about networking or anything, just if you think they're doing something cool, tell them that. And that's good for at least a coffee talk, like, because who doesn't like to be validated? Right.
It's really good advice. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll close this out with my predictions, which are quite different than the predictions we've talked about so far, and a bit more long shots, I'd say, a bit more outside of my day-to-day realm. The first one is I think 2026 will be the year of chatbots and agents doing marketing activities. So I
Yep.
know we had chatbots in our episode 19. I think that those as you have different startups and SaaS tools, which all of a sudden make a chatbot easier on a website, etc., I think that'll become even more commonplace than it is today. Whether they're valuable and useful, TBD. Let's see. Um, and then similarly, having agents doing more of the activity. I think there's enough of the technology involved in the dots connected for LLMs to not just sort of create content and then you go do something. I think we're going to start seeing the shift of, okay, now it's not only writing the email, but sending it or whatever the equivalent it is. And Dave, you had mentioned how, you had tried a number of experiments to put sort of an agentic situation together. I realize that's not even the right phrasing, but essentially to automate some of the activities that you're doing
Hmm.
for the podcast. My guess is that we'll get there this year. We'll see how that goes. The next one is I think we're going to see the first widely adopted AI hardware this year. I don't know what form it'll take. Maybe it'll be a change in the phone, maybe it'll be earbuds, maybe it'll be glass, whatever it is, but I think something's going to come out this year.
It would be
Um,
interesting if Apple released a glasses, because then you could do the test of trust in the companies. Because like I have a lot more trust in Apple than I do Meta.
mm-hmm.
That'd be an interesting one.
Hmm.
All right, and the last two, we won't know who the winner of the AI space is for a couple more years. I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna be this year. Maybe it's next year, but I don't think we're gonna know, oh, it's Gemini, it's Claude, it's ChatGPT. Maybe there's another one that comes out of the woodwork, and I don't think we're gonna know.
Hmm. I would say 2030.
Okay, 2030.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd go that far. There are some surprising little startups that have, by benchmarks, beaten
Hmm.
some of the big companies out there. Like I'm talking about startups with like 7 people.
Right.
So I think there's going to be some surprising changes, but I think the market's going to fracture so bad that by 2030, it's going to be pretty hard to say who won what. Who won the enterprise space? Who won the small business space? Who won the marketing space? The IT space?
Right.
I think it's going to fracture before you know.
Last but not least, the AI killer business model will be figured out this year. A little
Okay.
context for that.
Yeah.
What the heck am I talking about? So I listened to this fabulous 8-hour podcast about the history of
Good.
Microsoft,
Good God.
brought to you by the Acquired podcast. And they did a huge deep dive. Loved the format. It is a time commitment, but if you're outside gardening or whatnot, it's a nice thing in the background.
I like how you're talking about gardening with a snowscape behind you. But yeah, okay, continue.
Making snowmen. It's the same thing.
Right, there's a plant. So they talked about how Um, one of the things that Microsoft, like, they figured out the killer business model with software, which is you could put in a certain amount of R&D and then copy. And that turned out to be a way of, we've all heard like they were able to basically print money, right? Because you're able to copy the thing.
Right.
That turned out to be sort of the revolution with software in terms of business model was that sort of scaling. Then the internet comes around and Google figures out the sort of killer business model with search and specifically um that it's advertising, that you
Yeah.
get people to use your search, then you can pay for ads and all of a sudden you get sort of scaling effects there.
Yeah.
Unclear, at least to me, maybe some other folks have figured it out and I'll just hear about it this year and that's part of the prediction, what that equivalent business model is for LLMs. Like subscriptions don't have that sort of exponential scaling.
Hmm.
there's likely something there which is going to allow one of the different LLMs, once they figure it out, to sort of really make money off of this thing. And I think Google's in an interesting position in that they currently have to pay, or they're wanting to have serve up ads. And I was listening to a podcast with Sam Altman where he's like, look, that's at odds with being able to trust quality responses from an LLM, right?
Hmm.
Because if your business model is based off of paid advertisement, how are you providing a trustworthy responses in your LLM? Like those things are at odds together. So what is the way in which LLMs are really going to sort of make money and scale?
I
I
think
don't know.
there's going to be an API, at least in the midterm growth, because like the cloud-based side of Amazon and Microsoft is massive, usually understated because it's not very interesting, but it's a huge part of their business and it keeps growing. My last prediction was workflows and everything. That basically AI gets added in via workflow. So if it's not a custom API, AI already built in, there'll be an API connected, and then you'll be able to use a workflow to use it. So no matter what, you'll be feeding basically at some point, using it to evaluate, to optimize the data, to transition it, to put it into a chart, to change the format, you name it. But then if you constantly are using these AI tools in between all your business processes, honestly, that's how like Zapier and a couple others make their money right now is usage.
Mhm.
But if you have this workflow that literally every time someone visits, your website, you add them to your whatever, some sort of, database or something like that, and you use Zapier to do it. Well, that Zap, as they call it, has cost. So literally every visit, cost, profit for Zapier. I mean, they add up quick. That's
Mhm.
one of the problems and complaints they have with that business model is that, and their competitors don't use that same model. They use slightly different models. So, Ruthie, I think you're onto something there with what is that business model that allows that usage
Mhm.
to create money versus yeah, access to create money. Oh, that's gonna be an interesting one. Yeah, subscriptions are broken. I mean, I think we all kind of know that one. Like
Mhm.
ads on mobile games and pay to win is frustrating. Like there's a lot of these points where it's like it's not a part of the experience in a way where it benefits, instead it's a part of the experience that detracts.
Yes.
Right.
Like, oh, I want to watch my random, sport that I'm into, but now I need five different subscriptions.
Don't
That's
even get me
just
started
friction.
on that with
I know,
Timberwolves,
Dave.
man. I'm so pissed off about that.
And that's the thing. I think you phrased it really well, which is finding a way in which it's additive. Like you're seeing the
Yeah,
value and it's not detracting. You
or at
don't
least
sort of,
neutral. Like
yes.
that's my pain with the recipe sites. Like honestly, if you put the recipes at the top, I'd be happy with it, and you put ads below, I don't care. That's fine. Load them in. Like, but once you start detracting from that experience, or I constantly am scrolling and closing and looking for tiny X's, I'm pretty frustrated. I
Mhm.
mean, you lost the benefit of me visiting the page to the point where I typically hit the back button. I use a piracy browser then to reopen the same thing with all the ads stripped out.
Right.
Like, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still ranting about recipe sites. Yeah, thanks.
Well, it's important to develop as a human being first to acknowledge your biases. So I'm glad we've reached this step with you, Alex, today,
Yeah,
as we can.
my prediction is by the end
Yeah.
of 2026, I'll still be complaining about recipe sites. That one will probably be true. Oh, and by the
Can
way,
I
I built a
recommend a
GP.
book given the
Yeah,
old news,
yeah.
the old ways?
Also, during this podcast, I built a GPT. So there is now a GPT in ChatGPT's catalog, the Energizing Minds podcast, where you get replies from the three of us based upon our transcripts. Have fun messing
Okay,
around with that.
Amazing. Prediction complete.
Yeah. See, you just make it
perfect.
true.
Hmm. That's how credibility works. Anyway, this episode was a lot of fun for me. Hopefully that comes across in the audio. Thank you everybody for listening. We greatly appreciate everybody who's liked, subscribed, shared, commented, come up to us in real life and commented on things. It's greatly appreciated. And you know, this is the last episode of 2025. Have a wonderful holiday season. Have a great new year. We will be back on January 13th for a new year of teasing this stuff out. So have a great end of year. Have a great holiday with your families, and see ya.